The love that God has for you, the peace that is really at the center of your being, whether you take advantage of it or not, that doesn't change. That's part of who you are, like the fabric of your being. So when we think about power in terms of a spiritual power, not in terms of power in this world, we know that power implies a sense of focus, right? Because power is not diffuse. For power to have an effect, it is focused on something, in something, towards something. It can be a wide thing, like the power of the ocean. Looks like just a little soft water lapping at the sides. But we know the ocean has shaped the Grand Canyon. The ocean determines our weather. The ocean, we're told, is why we see the sky is blue. It determines a lot of things, just being itself, following its own nature. It doesn't have to, okay, people, sky's blue today. It just does its thing. Power is, just like the love of God is, the power of God is. So we don't have to call down the power of God. We have to tune into the power of God, because all the power of God is right here, right now, in you, as you. It's not something you have to pray for or earn. It's who and what you are. Now think about the entire power of God, of the universe, and beyond this universe, is right here, right now, as you. Do you realize what you can do? Now, the conundrum, if you want to call it that, is that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And all of us doesn't fit in this, because you're a bit bigger than just your physical body. You'd have to be if you are embodying all that God is. There's more to you than this that we see when we look in the mirror. And although it has been said that we do not determine our destiny, we are the authority in our world. You cannot make my world be what you decided to be, but you can make your world be what you decided to be. Now let's look on it on a couple of levels. We know that God is active in our lives, right? There's no way for God not to be active in our lives, because God is all there is. So our lives are God in action. That means that there is a natural order that permeates everything. There's not going to be 2 elements tomorrow and 26 next week. There will be as many elements as there are, whether we humans know how many there are or not. It's going to be what it is. God is going to be God all the time. We can't change that. We can limit its effect in our world. And we are the only ones who can think our thoughts, feel our feelings, make our choices. But that doesn't change the fundamental power of what is, the fundamental peace and joy of what is. If we choose to bring a thimble, we can get a thimble's worth, and it can be rounded and full as it can be. But if we choose to bring our unlimited souls and open to be filled, we realize that we are filled right now. It is there. We may experience it on a human level as instantaneous or things turning around, because we live in time and space, and it manifests in time and space. Sometimes it's more time, sometimes it's more space. But it manifests in this stuff in which we're swimming. And it's like the fish in the water. Fish doesn't see the water. We don't necessarily see all of the actions of God that are happening in our life. But the you of you knows what it is that you are here to be. And each of us has a different path and a different purpose. But you are here on purpose. You are here for a purpose. It's not random. Yes, we are meant to enjoy our lives. But yes, we also have a purpose. There is a reason why you are you, and you are here right now. And you have the power to change the lives of not just yourself, not just the people you know, but everyone, because we are all connected. We are one being in this God self. Now, just as I said, I can't be Wanda, and Wanda can't be Roy, and Roy can't be dear Linda, although we all wish we could play as beautifully as she does. The niche, the space in eternity that is Linda is necessary. This would not be a universe if the consciousness that is her, or you, were not here, we're not manifested. Now, we can speculate all day long about why we're manifest here and now and where we fit in the world, but let's face it, the civilization that we know has never had the internet. I mean, in our lifetimes, we can instantaneously communicate with people we've never met, will never met on the other side of the planet. That's in our lifetimes. Now, if you were created by the all-powerful being as a unique self, don't you think there's a reason why you're here at this time? Don't you think there's something that you have to offer to the rest of us that is needed and necessary right now? You're a gift to the rest of us. There is power in what you do because you are coming from the source of all power. And this is one reason why we see that thoughts are things. Everything comes from the unseen, right? This was a thought. That was an idea somebody had. Artificial flowers. Somebody thought it was a great idea. We take a lot of stuff for granted. But they all came from someone's idea, from a thought. We say that the universe creation started with an idea or a word. We use the word, the Greek is logos. But it's more than just a word. It's a movement of energy. It's a concept. There's an internal order to it. And we are one with that infinite, ineffable, I don't have the word, deep, wide, and consecutive beginning. You know, when we talk about the idea moving upon the face of the void, this is not just, oh, I think I'll have lunch today. This is the concept of all that is, and it all fits in a unified whole. There are not bits that are being worked out. You know, we talk about God isn't finished with me yet. No, God did His work. You are here to do yours. There you go. That's it. Because the work of God is done. God is complete. God is perfect. God doesn't need to develop. We're the ones, our understanding, our growth, our experience, and our way of shining forth the power of God is what we're developing. The power of God is, if you think of power on an earthly plane, it generally can be divisive. But when you think of the power of God with the power of the love of God and the peace of God, then you can see that there is divine order in all things. That the love that created this universe, knowing that, of course, there are more than one universe, just like there's billions of galaxies, etc., etc. This is a God of possibility. Anything that is possible is. This God is unlimited. So there's a Linda who stayed in bed today. She's still in her jammies and looking at TV, eating Fruit Loops. I know you don't eat Fruit Loops, that's why I can say that. But there's a possibility, there's a possible Linda that fulfills that. This Linda doesn't have to be that. This Linda has to be her. God is not limited. The power of God is not limited, just like the love of God is not limited. Now, some of us find it easier to vibrate to a certain aspect of God. I particularly like peace and love. Some people may like the power of God more, the light of God. Vibrate to whatever seems right to you. It might be a mixture of the two, a mixture of one of each of the, we generally break it down into 7. But you can just play with that because that's God, that's God, that's God. Everything is God because God is all there is. There is a oneness, a unity of all. And that includes us. So when we are making choices in our lives, there are no good or bad choices. There are outcomes that may or may not be what we desire. But how can it be bad if everything is God and God is all there is? How can there be bad? There can be not understood. There can be uncomfortable. There can be downright painful. But that is not eternal. That is not the truth of you. We go through experiences, but those experiences are not who we are. They're just that, experiences. And just like we've had experiences in this last week that we don't even remember because we were just going along, being with the flow. That's what we want to do spiritually. We want to be in the flow of God. We want to be aware that this is the base of our being. That this is not only why we're here, how we're here, but it is a dynamic that is active in our lives right now. This is not theoretical. All of God is right there where you are, always available to you in a way that you can touch, in a way that you can understand and feel. It does you no good to understand God the way I do, because I'm a different person. So this love wants you to understand. It wants you to feel empowered, to feel able to do that which is yours to do. And remember, just because you see it doesn't mean it's yours to do. It may be yours to love. It may be yours to let your peace flow. But you don't have to take it in. You don't have to make it yours if it's not yours. A lot of times we see situations and we say our heart goes out to them because that's our love nature feeling with whatever we're seeing or comprehending. But loving, which is always our privilege and which is never wrong, loving something does not mean that it has to become a permanent resident in your experience. Many of us have had experiences of seeing people who are not necessarily on this path, and they may do things differently than what we judge as being correct. You can love them without loving what they do. And that's one of the reasons we're here. To spread that love that is God's love. And let that be our motive power. Many times people think of love as being weak. But love lets you rise above anything. It lets you handle anything. Is it love seeks not its own? When we're loving, we're directed outward. We're not trying to get something. We are sharing our base nature, our true knowledge of oneness, of the unity of all. Because how can you not love it? You're it. You're in it. You're of it. So we can love everything that we know about. Not even our own experience, but everything we know about, we can put the energy of love. Even if we say that, with my human mind, I do not understand the details of this situation, but I know that the beings involved are God beings, and I love them on that basis, from that basis, namaste. We can say that no matter what's going on. The trick is to know that you have power. I think one of the quotes I like best of what's in your bulletin is the one that the way we usually give away our power is by thinking we don't have any. We think of power as something outside of ourselves. Even when we think of God, very often we get back into that high-low thing where God is there and I'm here and there's no way I'm going to ever touch this. We're already there. God is active in your life. Everything you have ever done, you were able to do because God is active in your life. Even just sitting quietly in this chair. You could not do that if God were not active in you as you right now. So when we acknowledge that we can choose our experience, that we can live in a state of peace at all times, we can live in a place of love at all times, regardless of what's going on out here. We take back our power to embody all that God is in our experience right here and now. People don't make you mad, you make you mad. You have the power to say, I'm not going there. I see this dynamic, but I don't choose to play that game. I don't want to sing that tune. I'm not getting on that train. Just let it flow on by. And remember who and what you are and who and what they are. Because part of your power is that when you ground yourself in reality and what's the truth, you help everyone else. You raise the water level, the water representing spirit. You raise the level of not just your own experience, but everyone around you. That's part of your praying without ceasing. Is being aware of your God nature as everything you do. Realizing that when you choose to go into those qualities that we know are of God. We know anger is not of God. God is the God that we read about in the Old Testament. How could God be God and become this and then totally change into that? Something's missing there. Whether it's our understanding or the understanding of those who wrote the words, whether it's our interpretation of our experience or the interpretation of those who taught us, the reality doesn't change. You know, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. Well, we're growing up. We're waking up. We're beginning to realize the truth of our being. And that's why we're here. We're beginning to wake up and realize that I'm not just a weak human. I'm a child of God, right here and now. And if you're a child of God and we call God the King, what does that make you? You're royalty, right? And royalty is something, in our definition, that you're born into. It's not something you become. So you are already holy. You are already exhibiting the nature of God, and you can choose to do more and more of that. We have the opportunity to choose to be independent humans or to surrender to our God self. On this level, when we talk about surrender in the human world, it sounds a little scary because you have no control and someone else is going to do stuff to you. And well, do you control your life now? Can you make it stop raining? Mm-hmm. Can you tell me what tomorrow is going to bring for you? You can a little bit get an insight, but it's a muscle. Haven't you noticed that the more you tune in to that inner self, that inner being that you touch when you meditate, doesn't it get easier to touch that, to get there? If you every day take a moment to do what we call RPM, read, meditate, and pray. And those of you in my age range know what RPMs, those revolutions that keep going around to make that music come out. Well, that's what you're doing. You're tuning yourself up. The instrument is still the instrument, but you determine the music that's played on it. You determine if you're going to make lovely sounds for the rest of us to enjoy and embody. You determine what colors you're going to mix for us to see, what words will be used for us to get that deeper truth that's coming through you. But that truth wants to come out. That joy wants to be embodied. That beauty, you can't keep it in. That's what we're surrendering to. We're surrendering to ourselves, our God nature. And that is where our power lies. Our power doesn't live in saying, I run my world, and it'll be what I want it to be. Because we don't control everyone, and we're all one. So you'd have to be the one individual controlling this whole planet for that to be so. And we know that's not so. The biggest dictator knew that that wasn't so. But when we can release that sense of needing to control, knowing that we are working on a spiritual level, that control of this world is not possible for any one of us, for everyone, until we have reached a higher level of understanding. And how do you get to that level of understanding? But surrender to your God nature. Your God nature is all of God, but as you are precious, and you have power right now. Please use your power wisely. Be who you really are, a child of God. And don't let these distractions get you off your path. Know that once you decide that you are going to live as a child of God, that these distractions become part of your path. They have a way of falling into place so that the things that you experience take you higher, take you deeper into that understanding, opens you more to that God self that you are. So enjoy the journey. Bless us with the best that is in you, and know that there's still more. And it's safe to let go, because the net that's catching you is made out of God, just like everything else. I love you guys.
Thank you.